23. Now, what are its characteristic, function, manifestation, and proximate cause? Here, the characteristic of it is composing. Even when analyzed in various ways. As visibility is of visible data. Even when analyzed in various ways. Just as visibleness is the characteristic of the visible database even when analyzed into the various categories of blue, yellow, etc., because even when analyzed into these categories it does not exceed visibleness, so also the same composing, described above as the coordinating of bodily action, etc., and as the foundation of profitable states, is the characteristic of virtue even when analyzed into the various categories of volition, etc., because even when analyzed into these categories it does not exceed the state of coordination and foundation. 21. While such is its characteristic, its function has a double sense, action to stop misconduct, then achievement as the quality of blamelessness in virtuous men. So what is called virtue should be understood to have the function, nature, of stopping misconduct as its function, nature, in the sense of action, and a blameless function, nature, as its function, nature, in the sense of achievement. For under these headings of characteristic, etc., it is action, kika, or it is achievement, sampatti, that is called function, rasa nature. Now, virtue, so say those who know, itself as purity will show, and for its proximate cause they tell the pair, conscience and shame, as well. 9. This virtue is manifested as the kinds of purity stated thus, bodily purity, verbal purity, mental purity, AI 271, it is manifested, comes to be apprehended, as a pure state. But conscience and shame are said by those who know to be its proximate cause, its near reason, is the meaning. For when conscience and shame are in existence, virtue arises and persists, and when they are not, it neither arises nor persists. This is how virtue's characteristic, function, manifestation, and proximate cause, should be understood. 20. 4. What are the benefits of virtue? Its benefits are the acquisition of the several special qualities beginning with non-remorse. For this is said, Ánanda, profitable habits, virtues, have non-remorse as their aim and non-remorse as their benefit, AV1. Also it is said further, householder, there are these 5 benefits for the virtuous in the perfecting of virtue. What 5? Here, householder, one who is virtuous, possessed of virtue, obtains a large fortune as a consequence of diligence, this is the first benefit for the virtuous in the perfecting of virtue. Again, of one who is virtuous, possessed of virtue, a fair name is spread abroad, this is the second benefit for the virtuous in the perfecting of virtue. Again, whenever one who is virtuous, possessed of virtue, enters an assembly, whether of Kshatriyas, warrior nobles, or Brahmans or householders or ascetics, he does so without fear or hesitation, this is the third benefit for the virtuous in the perfecting of virtue. Again, one who is virtuous, possessed of virtue, dies unconfused, this is the fourth benefit for the virtuous in the perfecting of virtue. Again, one who is virtuous, possessed of virtue, on the breakup of the body, after death, reappears in a happy destiny, in the heavenly world, this is the fifth benefit for the virtuous in the perfecting of virtue, D286. There are also the many benefits of virtue beginning with being dear and loved and ending with destruction of cankers described in the passage beginning, if a bhikkhu should wish, may I be dear to my fellows in the life of purity and loved by them, held in respect and honored by them, let him perfect the virtues, MI 33. This is how virtue has as its benefits the several special qualities beginning with non-remorse. 10. 24. Furthermore, dare anyone a limit place on benefits that virtue brings, without which virtue clansmen find no footing in the dispensation? No Ganges, and no Yamuna, no Sarabhu, Saraswati, or flowing Asiravati, or noble river of Mahi, is able to wash out the stain in things that breathe here in the world. For only virtue's water can wash out the stain in living things. No breezes that come bringing rain, no balm of yellow sandalwood, no necklaces beside, or gems, or soft effulgence of moonbeams, can here avail to calm and soothe men's fevers in this world, whereas this noble, this supremely cool, well-guarded virtue quells the flame. Where is there to be found the scent that can with virtue's scent compare, and that is borne against the wind as easily as with it? Where can such another stair be found that climbs, as virtue does, to heaven? Or yet another door that gives unto the city of Nibbana? Shine as they may, there are no kings adorned with jewelry and pearls that shine as does a man restrained, adorned with virtue's ornament. Virtue entirely does away with dread of self-blame and the like. Their virtue to the virtuous gives gladness always by its fame. From this brief sketch it may be known how virtue brings reward, and how this root of all good qualities robs of its power every fault. 25. V. Now, here is the answer to the question, how many kinds of virtue are there? 1. Firstly, all this virtue is of one kind by reason of its own characteristic of composing. 2. It is of two kinds, as keeping and avoiding. 3. Likewise as that of good behavior and that of the beginning of the life of purity. 4. As abstinence and non-abstinence. 5. As dependent and independent. 6. As temporary and lifelong. 7. As limited and unlimited. 8. As mundane and supramundane. 11. 9. It is of three kinds, as inferior, medium, and superior. 10. Likewise as giving precedence to self, giving precedence to the world, and giving precedence to the Dhamma. 11. As adhered to, not adhered to, and tranquilized. 12. As purified, unpurified, and dubious. 13. As that of the trainer, that of the non-trainer, and that of the neither trainer nor non-trainer. 14. It is of four kinds, as partaking of diminution, of stagnation, of distinction, of penetration. 15. Likewise as that of bhikkhus, of bhikkhunis, of the not fully admitted, of the laity. 16. As natural, customary, necessary, due to previous causes. 17. As virtue of patimokha, restraint of sense faculties, of purification of livelihood, and that concerning requisites. 18. It is of five kinds, as virtue consisting in limited purification, etc., for this is said in the Pisamhid, 5 kinds of virtue, virtue consisting in limited purification, virtue consisting in unlimited purification, virtue consisting in fulfilled purification, virtue consisting in unadhered to purification, virtue consisting in tranquilized purification, Payas I 42. 19. Likewise as abandoning, refraining, volition, restraint, and non-transgression. 26. 1. Herein, in the section dealing with that of one kind, the meaning should be understood as already stated. 2. In the section dealing with that of two kinds, fulfilling a training precept announced by the Blessed One, thus, this should be done is keeping, not doing what is prohibited by him, thus, this should not be done is avoiding. Herein, the word meaning is this: they keep, currenti, within that, they proceed as people who fulfill the virtues, thus it is keeping, carita, they preserve, they protect, they avoid, thus it is avoiding. Herein, keeping is accomplished by faith and energy, avoiding, by faith and mindfulness. This is how it is of two kinds, as keeping and avoiding. 27.